We got a motion and a second.
But the purpose of the motion of this is to negotiate with Mr. Pizzulo, but also we need to study the other options, so the board has all the options, including the theater, the school, and the Pizzulo building, and we do what's in the best interest and cost of the tax.
Okay, we have a few questions relating to this motion. Mrs. Spencer.
I won't be shy about this. The people that you've clearly explained are responsible are sitting right there, and I won't be shy. I think they should be fired. This is my opinion, that they should be fired.
Experts on it right now.
Okay, it's out quiet, please. Be respectful to everybody. Iona McCain, you're next, and
Thank you, Chairman Kyle. I think it might be wise to have an individual, a public at large, that's from the community, whether it be will it be Felix or someone else, just not the same people that negotiated.
okay.
Could you just one somebody?
All right, thank you, Iona. I will let Supervisor Hammond make that. Maybe Pat, do you have your hand up?
If I can, I have a couple of comments just on the whole discussion, and I'll be as brief as I can. First on leasing the Head Start. Herlong PUD has been talking to Fort State Schools since Head Start moved out of that building in July about leasing that building on an interim basis until we have a permanent office. The intent of that was also if there was ever funding to bring a preschool back, that the preschool would move in there, we'd find another home. I think that's pertinent that that community have a preschool if there's funding that could. Right. Secondly is, I gave a figure to this board in December of 2011 that showed all the land use. It clearly shows the Greenway parcels that you transfer to our district, and that parcel V2 as being moved to other, this was December 13, 2011, your board meeting here. I gave this figure to staff during a couple different meetings. Obviously, it didn't go anywhere. And that, makes me upset. I also offered, because I'm very up on the land use and what's gone on with Herlong with the deeds with the Army, and offered to help. Never had a phone call, never had an email, never had a clarification. It's just, as a taxpayer, it pisses me off. As someone that works in that community, that's trying to pull that community and turn it around, it makes me even madder. And it's totally uncalled for. So I would like to be involved if there is a move to go to the Head Start, because I believe we are first in line. I don't know if we're going there or not. We're looking at all our options. We're doing a feasibility study on ourselves. So, if Mr. Hammond would like to have me involved in that, I'm more than willing to do that.
That's acceptable. You're on it.
So, and I could leave this for the record if you'd so desire.
I'd keep it because it probably get lost again.
Well, I have it. I have it in AutoCAD, so. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, this board, are we satisfied here? We good? No?
I would just in closing, others might have trouble closing, but I want to, as I said earlier, I take responsibility for the decisions I make here, and I offer a sincere apology for the situation that the board and the county staff has put the community in down there. But you have, with that, I'm going to do, as I'm sure we all will, whatever we can to react in the best way to remedy a bad situation. And that's all we can do as board members. It's like I said, mistakes are made, but how you react to the mistake tells a story. So I'm hopeful that we could come up with a solution that does remove us from the real estate business out there, but at the same time preserves the center for the community. And I think that we could try and turn this into a win-win, if you will.
I agree. Any more comments from the board?
I've got a couple.
Tom, and then-
Go ahead, Jim. Mine will be brief. I just want to say that this whole saga has just been a nightmare. We spent 8 years wrangling with the Army in terms of taking over these properties, which we that it was happening in late 2003, early 2004. You know, we had staff at the time, and the board was divided on this. I mean, Gene LeVay, back as early as 1997, referred to getting involved with these surplus properties like Quagmire. I mean, he kind of related it to how the U.S. got involved in Vietnam. I'm not quite sure how that all connected, but in terms of the decision-making process. And, you know, we had staff who had this attitude that, that we're going to be property managers. It was never the intent of the county to be the property managers as far as I was concerned. I mean, we were to transition the property from the federal government to, to the private sector for development, because basically the Army didn't want to deal with, 50 different, businesses. And, they tried to turn it into like they were property managers generating revenue. They didn't even know how to write a contract for collecting rent. For every dollar they collected in rent, we were spending $10 in terms of expense. I mean, it took Mr. Wassick's election to the board to flip the board. You know, we were 3-2 for the most part through that entire era. And, and then to get rid of the property, it was in 2011, Mr. Chairman, I think it was in May, we took, all of us took a tour. We went out there because Larry come in talking about the ceiling tiles falling in the theater, and go look at the conditions of the property, what Mr. Holberg was talking about in terms of the trees and the stuff like that there. I mean, it was obvious that the property managers that we so-called had, the Donald Trump types, Kettleson and Patati and a whole bunch of them. I mean, as far as I was concerned, I mean, I was not impressed then, haven't been impressed, they haven't taken care of the job. And then when it came down to it, in terms of selling the property, I mean, we basically made the direction that end of May, that it all has to go. And then somebody said, well, the cell tower, because that's the one thing that doesn't have a lot of maintenance and it has a revenue stream to it, we keep it, we reserve that out. Everything else was to go. And between that point and the resolution that Larry referred to in April of 2012, we actually had people come to us and say, well, we need to pull these out and that out because there was a valuable use. I mean, back in May, we basically, as a board, said to all the various tenants that were there, the bank, the post office, everybody, we will deed you your portion of this property for $1. It's yours. The resource center, everybody could have their property and be responsible for it. This idea that we're going to bankroll, this malfeasance is enough. But all those tenants said, no, we don't want the property, we want, somebody else to take care of it. If it goes to the private sector, you're on their own. So, I mean, I hear the complaint that, as a community, back in 1997, the challenge was when the BRAC process was going through, was to, come to, to the table. It's the community that should be guiding this, not the county. And the community said no. Arnold Jones said no. West Patton Village said no. We need the county to do this because we're not big enough to handle it. But I think the community has to be responsible for those assets. And I think this whole thing has just been a nightmare the way it's played out. And I'm with Larry. I'm embarrassed to even be sitting here having to listen and deal with this because there was no sense for it. But the one thing is for sure, the county has to get out of the property management business. It has no capability to do it, no expertise.
We have to move on.
Okay, it'll be quick. I'm pretty disappointed in our performance in this matter. We are supposed to be the stewards for the county's assets and finances. And what we've displayed is complete incompetence. And I'm embarrassed to be a part of that. And we need to fix the problem. This can never occur again. There are ramifications to this thing that go to my community, to our community, to Lassen County, that go far beyond just this one stop. It's time we fix it.
All right. We got good discussion. I think we're heading in the right direction. It's our responsibility to fix it. We will fix it. With that, we're going to recess.
We need a motion.
We did.
Vote on the motion.
You haven't voted. You haven't voted.
I'm sorry. I guess we took comments from the public. You are correct. Thank you for that. Point of order, Mrs. Chapman. All right. Madam Clerk, could you do a roll call vote?
Supervisor Chapman.
Aye.
Supervisor Alba.
Aye.
Supervisor Wassick.
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond.
All right.
Supervisor Pyle.
All right. Thank you. With that, we'll take a 10-minute recess. Thank you, people, for coming. amazing. That's amazing. He said I was where you Bring the meeting back to order. We're going to take up B5, Honey Lake Valley Resource Conservation District, and I will step out on this issue, and the vice chair will take over.
Okay, we'll take up item D5, 1045, time certain, Honey Lake Valley Resource Conservation District. This is a continuation of prior meeting for the board to make a possible appointments to fill vacancy. And
Mr. Vice Chairman, also before you is the option of not making an appointment, allowing the law to prevail and have them make their own appointment.
thank you, yeah. So, basically, we can open it up for questions, or is there any, does the board have anything to say before we open it up to the public?
I got one question. Marty, so if we didn't make an appointment, how would they go about appointing her? What process would they?
I would assume that it would be very similar to the process that you have to follow. They would have, there's a law called the Manny Appointment Act. You know, the law 20 years ago that says we have a vacancy. So they, according to that, they'd have to post the vacancies and solicit applications. They can develop their own process for however they want to vet them, but eventually at a public meeting, when it's on the agenda, they would make an appointment.
Between the four of them, if they can agree, three of them can agree on one person, then they can make the appointment.
Any other board members have anything?
Yeah, I've been kind of looking into this, and I've got a call into the California Special District Association. And I've left a message with Neil McCormick. He's yet to get back to me, and I was hoping he could give us some assistance on this matter we've got. Seems to be a pretty volatile situation we're in. I'm under the impression right now that there's an advisory committee of 6. Jesse, come on. Don't be shy.
I'm not shy at all.
Okay, don't be shy. 6 people consisting of Ramsey Wood, Jesse Claypool, John Richards, John Mallory, Luke Garrett, and Willis Dow. And they're supposed to be reviewing their court docs and their procedures. Is that true? Okay. And my suggestion, sorry, Randy. My suggestion is for these guys to put a candidate forward that's acceptable to them all. And in the interim, I've spoke with...
Got a question, could you name those names again?
Oh, okay. Ramsey Wood, Jesse Claypool, John Richards, John Mallory, Luke Garrett, and Willis Dow.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is when you said Willis Dow, that committee has 3 of their 4 board members, and I was gonna say, as a committee, I'm not sure if they can do that, because that constitutes a meeting. If those three voted with those other three, and they have a candidate recommended, you've already got 3 votes to appoint the person, so they are a majority of that board. So, one of those three RCD members needs to drop off that committee if you're gonna not be in trouble.
Okay. That's the rules that I don't know and to be determined. And that's why I called this California Special Districts Association.
You gotta be careful about that.
Yeah, okay. I spoke with David Lyle, and he accepted the position to be a non-voting member to make sure that they followed policies and procedures until we filled the appointment with either an election process or we came forward with a candidate. So my suggestion is we let this committee do its work and take it from there.
I don't think we should make an appointment. If they've got that process in place, let them pursue it.
At this time then, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody like to speak? Yep. Go, Barbara. Just state your name for the record, please, for the tape recorder.
I'm Barbara Howe, and I am part of this RCD because we have a water rights. I've been going to all of these meetings, listening, trying hard to make some sense of it. And all I can tell you guys, that fiasco that I just listened to about her law, I hope you learned something and you run from this RCD mess, because it's about to bury you. When we had an election, it was called the Soil Bank, maybe Mr. Auble might know, soil conservation. We elected people to represent us by the mail. People that wanted to serve would let their representative know, because each water district, each creek has a person. And then the ballot came out. We voted on who we wanted to represent us, mailed it in, and they read it. Therefore, it was by the people, for the people. The decision was made of the people. And it still works because REA is still doing it. We have a lot of scare tactics and BS floating around at all these meetings that just has scared people to death. The basics are the basics. The adjudication is what rules the creek. The RCD took this over, the poor saps, because everybody here wanted DWR to get lost because of the terrible cost. Since that happened, my water master fees have gone up every single year, and I have none of the services that DWR provided us. I feel we got ripped off real good there. Okay, so they do not have the depth, the knowledge, or the understanding how to dictate the interpretation of the adjudications. There are few and far between. So they hired a water master. I'm not saying he's an expert, I'm saying he learned. So we do have a lot of moaning and groaning, this is what we gotta do, get a contractor. We did, and he's there, and he is administrating the adjudications. Okay, what happens, somebody said no to somebody. We gotta get rid of that water master, and that's an old tactic. He's number 15 water master for just me. We needed RCD to get some backbone, back the man they hired. By the way, because he didn't know, he hired a consultant company, $12,000 a year, ex-water masters from DWR. Now, I think they have the expertise to carry this out. What we need to do is allow the water master to be the water master and the complaint department to disappear. The person that has a problem, go to the water master, go to the person that represents your creek, talk it over, And if you cannot come to a conclusion that's satisfactory, we have a thing called the courts. We have freedom. There are a lot of young men that are giving their life so that we have this freedom. Let's not crap on it. Go to the court, get it settled. Don't involve everybody in the neighborhood. Sooner or later, somebody's going to get killed here. And that's my point.
Thank you, Barbara, very good. Larry, step up and just state your name for the recorder, please.
I'm Larry Kubota. I think you guys have been hearing a lot out of me. First of all, I'd like to ask a question of clarification of just what you were talking about with this committee. Did I hear that you're going to ask that committee to make the recommendation for the filling of the position?
Did you want to speak to that?
Well, that was an idea of mine. I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. You know, Larry, I don't know. You know, I'm making decisions on a water system I don't know anything about.
No, I just wanted to be sure that I understood what you're
Yeah.
proposing. I think don't get me wrong, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I think it's a lot better than what you guys have been doing,
yeah.
okay?
And I'm willing to attend those meetings with these guys, those advisory.
And I
committee.
totally support all
Yeah.
6 names. I agree that one of those 3 have to be removed. I'd recommended David Lyle as a person to be on the committee,
There you
to
go.
fill that name if you guys were acceptable to that.
Well, my attitude is the RCD board should be the one making that selection. If they want to rely on this committee or on their own, that's their business, not ours.
Well, the important thing that I think needs to be remembered, and I don't know if I'm any expert on this stuff too. I have this RCD handbook here. I remember giving my other copy to council, I think, and I never did, said I never needed it. And I can't believe how many times I wanted it. I think it was better than this one. But it talks about the elections in here. A direct election, which we talked about at the one meeting, which, first of all, you gotta define the boundaries of the district, and only those district people are allowed to be part of that election. That's why it's kind of difficult with a general county election at the same time, because you got some people that are in or out. I don't know how you divide it. The other way, of course, is Board of Supervisors. But it does make it very clear that you're encouraged to get an advisory group or go to the people that deal with the RCD to make that selection. That it should not be a political selection. So, like I said, I support that concept entirely. I hope you accept it, because I think that'd be a good committee to solve it. Okay? But I wanted to, a bunch of things were said at that meeting, and I sat down and said, there's things that are said that are bothering me, and I guess I'd like to see if I can clarify a little of it, because each of you have said something that tells me, where are you getting this information? Neighbor against neighbor. You're the one that has brought that up, That's further from the truth. To my knowledge, we have one water user that's been against another water user and tried to be mitigated through the water master. It went through a dispute resolution committee to get resolved, and it got political, and it really became a mess for everybody. But that's the only neighbor against neighbor that I'm aware of. The other is LIC, as one of the big water users, has been very upset with the water master and has tried everything under the sun to undermine him, go after him, create the hullabaloo that a lot of you guys are hearing about, and has really stirred the pot up. And it's because they don't want to do the things they are required to do. And by keeping RCD and water master off their, I guess, agenda, then the other things don't get done. So I just wanted to throw that out to you. It all started, this conflict we're talking about, with just a personal attack of one individual that really wasn't even a water user. Well, they were at the time, but they're not now, going after the water master and getting the water master fired. And that agenda has been going on since I've been involved in it. And it just muddies up the water. It really does. The water master needs to be held to a very high account, just like a sheriff deputy or anybody else doing the job. If they're not doing the job, they need to be fired. But if they are doing the job and it's just strictly because somebody wants to be mad at him, that's no reason to get rid of him. And all the issues to go after him have nothing to do with allocating water. It has to do with reports. He doesn't write right. He doesn't do this right. It has nothing to do. His job is to adjudicate water. And I just want to leave that with you, that issue in itself is something that the WAC Advisory Committee needs to be dealing with. That represents the water users, who's under the RCD, and that needs to be happening at that level. And the RCD needs to be administering that water master program and getting out of the details of it. Unfortunately, a lot of what you guys have said, and especially at the last election, you emphasize the water master stuff so much that I think you sent 3 new members onto that board with the meat in their teeth to go after the water master. And it just muddied up the water further. I'm saying to you, that's not an issue you guys need to really be dealing with. What you need to be dealing with is helping that RCD, if you want to help at all, function. Learn how to function, learn how to be board members. You put 4 new people on there that have never been on a board, and that created another bunch of problems for the last year. And it's unfortunate because they're all good people. I do not want to badmouth any of them. Okay, their heart's in the right place, but they didn't know how to function as a board, and it became very obvious. Okay. The other thing that was said that I wanted to throw out is this budget and the importance of a budget and all this type of stuff. Well, I'm going to disagree, and I know I've talked to you a little bit about that, Tom. But budgets, you know, I told you, I worked for the Forest Service for 34 years. I've dealt with every kind of government budget you can think of, and actually dealt where they had no budgets. It really didn't make any difference to the people on the ground. We functioned, we got the job done, went forward, did things, I guess in some cases, in spite of budgets. But why do you need a budget? Basically, and you guys do it yourselves. You have your own budget. It's a planning tool. It's where you're going to put the emphasis through money of what you want to get done. When you're a small little outfit like the RCD was when I went on board, you don't have any money for planning. The basic money you have coming in just pays for the secretary, and you have no other money to spend other than maybe buy some lunches for a meeting sometime and a few things like that. Budgeting's not too darn important. So the RCD is going through some big growing pains of trying to get to the budgeting process. Now, I want to sow another seed with you. Back to the water master. The water master service needs to be administered by the RCD. I think it's the best agency in this county to do it. But it's also important to the RCD because it's the only place where they get their money that they can count on. The overhead money they get from the water master service is the only money that they have that they can count on every year. Like it or not. And it's not a big amount. Basically pays for the secretary and the incidentals. And the headaches that go with some of the water master stuff. And that has been self-generated within themselves. The big thing though is we got ourselves a grant writer that really started bringing in lots of money, and boy, it looked good to all of us, and we all agreed. We need to have somebody, like, not pick on your Hurlong issue, but to blame. Because there's nobody in that place to manage the RCD. The board has to do it directly. And we felt the need, and as we were growing and getting all these grants, and we had a good grant writer in him, to get things done, that sounded great, doesn't it? Have any of you ever dealt with grants? I'm sure you have. When does the money come in? Usually after the fact. So most of the problems is we got this big money, and I know somebody said, I think it was back to your question, Tom, that there was like $400,000. Yeah. And that's the furthest from the truth. They haven't got enough money to hire a manager. They've got $400,000 coming, but again, it's all in the rears, and it's all tied up by the previous grant, and they're paying for the previous user, And it's a cash flow problem. They have a big cash flow problem. It will work itself out in time, but until it does, the only money they have to deal with is that water master fund. And they have borrowed from it to keep some of the grant things going, and it's been a good borrowing because they know the money's coming. I just throw it to you, it's not real $400,000. They barely have enough money to take care of the secretary, the incidentals, the things they want to do. They need to, and they know they need to, and they all want a manager just as quick as they can get enough money in the coffers to go forward. So that was a misnomer on the budgeting process that I wanted you to know. They know they need to get a budget so they can finally see that stuff, make long-range plans, see where the money's going and where it's coming from, and make a plan accordingly. But they do have good accounting. They don't need to not pay bills because they don't have a budget. And that comes back to functioning as a board, that they made those kind of decisions. Suddenly they weren't gonna write any checks because we don't have a budget. Because somebody in the crowd is trying to feed, again, food to the lions, that, hey, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. How can you write a check if you don't have a budget? Everybody can. Hell, my house can operate without a budget. You know, budgeting is to help you plan and go forward. It's not essential to the day-to-day operation. As long as you have good accounting, you're paying out of the right funds for what you're doing. So, like I say, I wanted to get that to you. Then I want to go back and emphasize what the RCD is about. Its main purpose is communication and education. Communication to all the agriculture people, what's available to them, how to function, where it comes from, to make things happen. That takes an information flow. Unfortunately, the RCD has been so bogged down with all these other issues, it's not doing that type of stuff. And it's a real important part of what it's at. Getting grant money, bringing money into the county, also to function itself, to make itself go forward. Real critical item. And of course, facilitating the agriculture needs in this county. That's why RCDs were formed way back when. They formed the Soil Conservation Service to solve the great dust bowl problem. And no sooner did they get that done, and somebody realized it didn't have, here you brought this government agency down from the top. Where was the user's input from the bottom to make it all happen? And out of that, somebody said, we need RCDs. We need to have that middle organization that can make it happen for the farmer and keep it going. And that's where the emphasis is, and I commend you to be considering that committee to make this election, because where I'm coming from today, my recommendation to you was, felt I have the best qualifications, but I was going to recommend that you go with Ruth. And I will even recommend that to the committee, because she seemed to have a lot of good stuff with her, a lot of things that sounded good. I think she'd be excellent on the board, and bring it together to make it go forward. And it needs to be resolved. A decision needs to be made. I don't want you to table it. I don't want you to get rid of it. Make a decision and get on with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm John Bentley, current chairman of the RCD board. This committee, the six-man committee, would be fine, except it's got too many water users on it. Okay? You had 3 applicants, Dave Schroeder, Larry Capote, and Ruth, that applied for this job. 2 of them are water users, 1 is not. 2 of them have been on the board before. What's wrong with Ruth? Because she's a woman? What's wrong with her qualifications? I mean, she's the only candidate. She's the only one that's not a water user that's willing to step up to the job. What's the problem? It's not politically correct, obviously. Is it? That's all I can say.
Is there anyone else who'd like to? Oh, hi, Barbara, just come up and state your name.
Hi, Barbara White. I just wanted to underline a little bit about the position
that you should be focusing on is for the RCD. It shouldn't be about water issues. It shouldn't be about the water programs at all. That's the problem you have now, is two people got on there who were very into the water issues, and they shouldn't be. And the 6-person committee, I agree with John, there's too many water users on there. I don't think that would be appropriate. You have 2 wonderfully qualified, honest, capable people that applied. I would really encourage you to choose one of them and move forward and let this RCD go forward. And I think with the addition of one of these 2 people, you would clear the roadblocks, and it could go on with being an RCD, and I think they would be strong enough to get rid of all the trash the water master issues. The problem with the RCD now is it's stuck in this little tug-of-war where the complaints and the decree violations that they're mandated to carry through on are not being handled and taken to court because of this standoff. And there's 2 issues that have been decree violations because of that. Anyway, so when this RCD, and we first got involved in it, first started the meeting, it was very upbeat and wonderful, and I think Bob Anton was the chair then, and it was very helpful and proactive until it kind of got soured and there was a bunch of mud throwing going on. And I'd like to see it be that way again, and with some forward motion and help from you guys, I think they could do that and be absolutely honest and still have your Mr. David Lyle come and watch them for rules and regs, because I think with the right people there, they could be an RCD.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor, I'm sorry, I think I missed you. You wanted to respond there.
Well, I just wanted to comment to Mr. Bentley, his forceful on at the podium. You know, the simple solution, John, is the 4 of you that sit on the RCD board now could appoint Ruth today. And to me, that's where the appointment needs to be made, not by this board, but by your board. You've got 3 excellent qualified candidates. You know, they're nice people. I like Ruth. I'm very fond of what she is capable of doing in her work at the radio station. I'm just saying is I think your board is the one that needs to make the appointment.
Well, if I didn't have 2 water users on the board, we could.
You guys need to work
If
that
I
out.
didn't have 2 water users on the board, I could, okay? This board got rid of Tim Garrett and Richard Parker on a technicality back when. It was a great board. It's when I first came in, okay? You created it. Then you put water users on the board. So what do we have? A standoff. Okay, you created it. This board can't elect, okay? They won't. Take one of those water users out of there and we will. Okay?
Is there anyone else that would like to talk? Violet?
I'm Violet Stout, the poet laureate, troublemaker of Lassen County. Anyway, I just wonder, all these people talking about the water, if they have read the executive order from our President of the United States on what you can do with the farmers and the water and the cattle, and they're raising more and more hell about that. And the water, they say now you can't even grow a garden in your own yard because it's taking the water. You can't do anything in the water. That's made a comment the other day, a smart ass, what about the sheriff's office and their pool, their carpool. But anyway, somebody had better check on the executive orders from the White House. And with the Forest Service, he said he was in the Forest Service. I live by BLM and the Forest Service, and I know what they're doing. And I fight with them all the time. But the executive order from the White House is what's telling you you can do with your water and what you can't do with it. And they're going to put it in the houses pretty soon, everything. Everything is going to be managed by an executive order. And that's why the fringe is on that flag. You have no rights in the United States. That's a martial law. And people do not understand this. But I do. And I know, like the telephone calls, I hear all this crap going on from her on here. You can go back, and this time, back in the 50s before, way back when, and I know that our phones have been bugged since the 50s. They've come in the apartment house because we rented to people at Herlaw. And all phone calls, whatever they are, the little box, the little phone, whatever, are recorded. And you can go back there and ask them people if they'll run the telephone calls from the time Furlong come in out here, and they got them. That's all you have to do, because that's all recorded. Whatever you say on the phone to anybody, I always say, tell another lie real quick so they won't know which one to believe. But they record everything that's said. And I want you guys to know that. And if anything you want, I've said before, I have it. I can give you anything. So thank you for your time and trouble.
Thank you, Violet. I just to finish off the public comment before we bring it back to the board, we received a letter from Dave Schroeder. He asked us to read it aloud, but is that, are we, I feel uncomfortable reading it. It kind of borders on the whole civility issue we adopted as a board, but if we are supposed to read it aloud, I prefer the Madam Clerk, so.
Thanks.